It's important to understand where we're coming from before we start looking at where we're going, because it really does inform. The past will inform the present and the future. You need to understand where the money came from, what the clients were that you loved, what you want to change, what worked, what didn't, all those things.
All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business.
Hey. Now I know you're expecting Rebecca Hay, but just for this week, you get a bit of a substitute. My name is Vera Marcus, and as you may know, I'm the producer of this amazing podcast, and I'm here to give you a small introduction so that Rebecca can enjoy her well-deserved vacation. So in line with that, we thought it was actually the perfect time for a rebroadcast all about goal setting. This week, we are rebroadcasting episode 261, which is Rebecca's 7-step framework to accomplishing your goals. Now you may be wondering, it's not the beginning of the year or the unofficial restart to the year, aka September, but we thought it was actually the perfect time to talk about goals. Why? Because we're in the middle of the year. This is the perfect time to check in on your goals you previously set and see how they're going. And if you didn't set any, even better, do it now. You have the rest of the year to accomplish many great things. It's honestly never too late. So I hope you enjoyed this rebroadcast, and there's a freebie that comes with it. So if you want to jump ahead and follow along with the freebie as you listen, visit RebeccaHay.com/best year to get your free download. That's enough of me. Now on to the episode, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey, it's Rebecca, and you are listening to Resilient by Design. Happy New Year! This is our first episode of the 6th season, if you can believe it, the 6th season of Resilient by Design. Holy heck, time flies. And this is the first episode of the year. So it's 2025, and we are going to have our best year yet. I am convinced this is my year, which means it's also going to be your year. I'm taking you along for the ride. What I wanted to do today, since our very first episode, is I want to just touch on some really specific and easy ways, like a super low lift for goal setting. I want to make sure you're set up for this year. And if you already did your goal setting back in December, amazing. This might just give you a little extra insight, some tips to tweak it, but maybe you just got a little busy and you didn't do all of the yearly planning that you wanted to do back in December, November. So I'm here today to help you out because I've always loved these episodes, listening to other people's podcasts. And so I thought that you guys might enjoy this as well. This episode comes after you've reviewed your year. So I like you to please, if you haven't listened to our episode in December, where I walk you through how to do an end of year review, I do recommend you go back and listen to that one. That will be really helpful to set you up. It's important to understand where we're coming from before we start looking at where we're going, because it really does inform. The past will inform the present and the future. And so I would really appreciate it. Actually, it doesn't matter to me. It's really for you. You would appreciate it because if you could do that quick review of your year, you need to understand where the money came from, what the clients were that you loved, what you want to change, what worked, what didn't, all those things. Do that first and then circle back and listen to this episode. So most people set pretty lofty goals at the start of the year, right? This is the time of New Year's resolutions. And then most people fall off track. I'm raising my hand in the air because that has been me on more times than I like to admit. I typically will fall off track on certain areas and certain goals and go all in on others. And so what I have learned is to really narrow my focus and not try to do too many things and stop setting too many goals. I get it. Life gets in the way. And so what I want to do is I'm going to share with you today my foolproof goal setting system that is going to keep you on track with your goals to ensure that 2025 is your best year yet. Best year ever. I'm excited. Can you tell? Okay. It is a 7-step framework. Guys, I like it when I break things down. I've prepped this. I have my notes in front of me. You're probably going to want a pen and paper or a journal. If you're listening to this on the go, pin it, send it to yourself, send it to a friend, and circle back, because this is going to be the most concrete, actionable goal setting podcast I have ever done. And I've done a bunch of them over the years. And we will link some of the previous goal setting podcasts and end of year podcasts to this episode. So if you go to the show notes, you can go back and listen to some of my previous years. If you're kind of like to geek out on this stuff as I do, then go back, listen to it all, and develop your own system. But I've kind of narrowed it down that what has worked over the years to be as time efficient as possible. So I'm going to walk you through my 7-step framework. 1, mapping out your calendar. 2, brainstorming what you want to accomplish. 3, helping you decide your professional goals. 4, mapping those goals out by quarter. 5, brainstorming all the ideas that can help you get there. 6, getting into a habit with weekly tasks. And then 7, getting things into your calendar. That's essentially the overview. That's what I'm going to walk you through today. Let's dive into number 1. So the very first step that I do is I map out my calendar for the year. Now, this might seem counterintuitive. You're thinking, well, I haven't set my goals yet. How can I fill in my calendar? But we also have personal lives, and we have families, and we have things that we want to do with ourselves. And if we don't put those into the calendar now, we might run out of time to do those things. And so this has taken me a long time to learn. Actually, one of my goals, as I was preparing for this podcast, I went back over the years. And one of my goals back in 2019 was to pre-schedule family vacations, because we weren't doing them. And it's funny because now I just naturally do it. It's become a habit. So you really, really want to get into the habit of mapping out time for yourself. This idea was reinforced to me when I read the book 10X is Easier Than 2X. I highly recommend that book. Anything by Benjamin Hardy and Daniel Sullivan, great reads. I think they've done 2 or 3 books together. Go check them out. But Dan Sullivan talks about how he and his wife sit down and they look at the next 365 days at the end of the year, and they map out all their vacation time, all their personal time. That's the first thing you need to do. Open up your Google Calendar, open up a paper calendar. I actually like doing these things with paper and pen, or on an iPad where I can write in with my little pen. Vacations, start here. Book time off now. If you want to take the month of August off, put it in. Doesn't mean it won't change. Put it in. Do you want to not work Fridays? Put it in. Are you hoping to go to High Point Market? Put it in. That's the next thing. As part of mapping out your calendar, you're going to do 2 things. You're going to do the personal vacation stuff, personal days, travel, and all those things. Family, maybe it's Thanksgiving. Like you want to make sure you take off the Friday, Black Friday after Thanksgiving, because you forgot to do that this year and you ended up in a phone call or whatever it might be. Then professional commitments. These don't have to be related to goals. They could be, but I just mean things that are happening in the calendar year that you would like to go to, you would like to attend. So for example, High Point Market. I never used to do this. And then I would be like, oh shoot, I really wish I could go to High Point. I don't know why. Unfortunately, I have a reveal that month. So if you book it in now, as you're planning out your design projects or other projects, it's there and you see it coming. So block off things like High Point Market. You don't know when it is? Google it. The dates for a lot of these events are years in advance. KBIS. Is there something local that you want to make sure you're attending? Is there a conference you want to go to? Put it in your calendar now, even if you haven't registered for it. Do that. If you listened to my episode at the end of the year about reviewing your year, you will know already that there are certain things you don't want to repeat, and there are things you want to do more of. I want you to get that list and keep that list handy, because you're going to want to use that as we move through the next 6 steps. So that's it. Step 1, super simple, map out your calendar. That's going to take some time. I don't expect you to do it right now while you're listening. Although if you can, pause this recording, pause this podcast, and sit down and do it. It shouldn't take more than an hour. Sit down, block it out, really rough, and you'll really start to see how much time is left over to do all the things to achieve your goals. Sometimes what happens is we overestimate how much we can achieve in a year but we underestimate how much we can achieve in a week, meaning that we think, oh, a year, it's so much time to do all the things. But when we actually look at the weeks that we don't actually have the hours to do all the things. So I want you to be really intentional because I want you to hit your goals. Okay. Step number 2, brainstorm a list of everything you want to accomplish this year. This is really the first step of goal setting. I want you on a piece of paper to brainstorm. Put down a list of everything you want to accomplish. Personal, professional, whatever. You name it. Don't sweat it. Put it down on that piece of paper. Everything you want to do. It could be financial. It could be I want to launch a podcast. I want to land a project in Dubai. I want to get in shape. I want to travel to Africa. I want to take Fridays off. I don't care. Whatever it is, put it on a piece of paper. And I want you to give yourself time to do that. So if you're listening, you want to pause right now and do that, go for it. Just brainstorm a list of everything you want to accomplish this year. This is not like a long-term life lesson. That's more for my casting vision workshops. But brainstorm a list of everything you want to accomplish and get it down on paper. I'm not saying that they're all going to be goals. Write it all down. The reason I like to start here is because sometimes if I'm like, I'm going to pick these goals, then other ideas come into my brain and then I get confused and then I get overwhelmed and I start to overthink. Well, what's a priority? Which one should I do? Just put it all down on paper first. Because when you see it all laid out, it's a lot easier for you to do the next step, which is to then decide on which ones you're going to focus on. So brainstorm your list of everything you want. Step 3. You're going to have to make some decisions and you are going to decide on your professional goals. I realize I told you to write everything down on that piece of paper, professional and personal, family, health, you name it, spiritual, whatever it is. But for the purposes of today's exercise, we're going to leave the personal stuff aside. The exercise I'm walking you through here is going to be repeatable, meaning that once we've gotten through everything here today, you can then take these steps and you can repeat them for your personal life. So brainstorm a list, step 2. Step 3, decide on your professional goals. So here's what I do. I love a good highlighter. So I take a yellow highlighter. You can pick the color that works for you. And I highlight all the professional goals that stand out to me. You could take another color for personal goals. I've done that too. But right now we're focused on the professional. So go through and look at your brainstorm. I tend to write words all over the paper. It's not usually a list. I don't know why. It's like a mind map or like, you know, those brainstorming clouds. I remember learning about this in school. We just like throw out words and ideas. That's what I do. It's like a brainstorming page with like things written all over the place. And what I do then is I get that yellow highlighter and I go through. Actually, come to think of it, a list might be a lot easier because I feel like my eyes are bouncing around. I just did this exercise. Highlight the professional goals that stand out, meaning which one of these are the real needle movers? Which goals in here are the ones that you really want to achieve? And highlight those. Within step 3 of deciding your professional goals, the next thing I suggest you do is get them off that piece of paper and move them to another piece of paper because it's getting a little messy. You've got all of those professional goals. Maybe you've got a few other professional goals that like you kind of like to have them, but maybe they actually could be sub goals. Like they might fall underneath a category. So let's see, for example, I might have a goal to make a profit with the podcast this year. In fact, that is one of my goals, make a profit, because so far the podcast has not made any money really because it costs us a lot of money to run it. So make a profit with the podcast. Another goal might be land 4 sponsors. Well, landing 4 sponsors at whatever value is actually kind of a sub goal of breaking even or making a profit with the podcast. That's the type of prioritizing and hierarchy I want you to consider when you're selecting those goals. Now, I know you're thinking, but how many, Rebecca? How many goals do I highlight? How many goals do I decide on? So here's my recommendation. I usually focus on 5 to 6 professional goals a year, big ones. There's lots of sub goals within there and then, smaller milestones throughout the year. Anything more than that, I find is overwhelming and it's then hard to hit because you're spreading yourself too thin. I know some people say up to 10. I like to set up to 10 goals for the year. as per my full focus planner that I use, but they are not all professional. So I give 5 to 6 professional, and then the remainder would be my personal, like my big ticket holders. Okay. Step 1, you've mapped out your calendar for your year. We're going to circle back to that. That's done. 2, you've brainstormed a list of everything you want to accomplish this year. Step 3, you've now highlighted or circled the professional goals that stood out to you. And what I want you to do with those is put them on another piece of paper. I like to do a mind map. I think that's what it's called. But essentially where I put in the middle, business goals or career or professional, whatever you want, in the middle of the page, and I put it in a circle. I circle it. And then I do lines out from that circle for each of those 5 or 6 goals. And I add those goals to the mind map. That mind map, good news is I have a worksheet that I am providing for you as part of this episode. It is a freebie. You can go and download it, and it gives you examples of what I'm talking about. So if you're having a hard time visualizing my mind map idea, my crazy idea with circles, go download it, RebeccaHay.com/best year, and you could download the worksheet that accompanies this episode. That way you can follow along. If you want to pause, if you haven't done it already, you can pause, go pull it up online, download it, and continue the episode or circle back. But that might help you. Okay, so we've got our mind map. We've got our 5 or 6 professional goals. That's it. That's step 3. And that might feel like the biggest win because getting that far for me sometimes is the hardest. The rest is just mapping it out. And we're going to get there in a second. If you are feeling overwhelmed with making a decision, I want to tell you that you can always change your mind. But here's what they say. Successful people in business are decisive. This is something I've had to remind myself over and over and over again. In fact, one of my mantras like over a year ago was, I always make the right decision, because I personally have struggled with decision making. So if you're like me, just remind yourself, just make a decision, move forward. If it feels out of alignment as you keep going through this exercise, you can go back and revisit and determine, maybe that's not the goal. Maybe it's this iteration of the goal, or maybe it was something I wrote on the paper that I didn't highlight. So you can always go back and revise. We are a work in progress. It is progress over perfection. Okay. Step 4. You've mapped out your calendar for later. You've created a brainstorm. You've now decided on your professional goals and put them into a mind map. So you've got a nice visual. Step 4 now is to map out these goals, these 5 or 6 goals, by quarter. And this is where the magic starts to happen. I like to put next to each one of those goals what quarter I plan to accomplish it by. It could be that a lot of them are Q4, right? Because you want to get there by the end of the year. But some of them might actually be able to be accomplished by Q2, Q3, maybe even Q1. For me, one of my goals, I think, we're still work in progress here, is to set up a podcast studio at my office, like at my studio in Toronto. And that's a Q1, Q2 goal. That's not something I want to drag on to Q4. Like I want that done so then I can interview people here. So decide on what quarter each goal will be accomplished by. And then just go ahead on your paper next to that goal, just write Q1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay. Again, 5 or 6 professional goals. One of them could be financial. I know some of you are thinking like, where does a financial goal go? That is up to you. One could be financial, or they could all work towards a bigger overarching financial goal. That's completely up to you. There's no right or wrong way to do this. I'm just trying to make this really straightforward and easy. Step 4, we've mapped them out by quarter. Step 5 is to brainstorm a list of all the ideas that can help you get to your quarterly goals. This is a whole new piece of paper. Follow along in the worksheet, but you need to create a list of ideas that you can think of that could get you closer to achieving these goals. So I've given you an example in the worksheet, but break all these ideas down, like put them all on paper. What are all the different ideas for each goal? If you want, you can add them to your mind map, all the different ideas. That's what I like to do. So if one of my goals is generate a profit with the podcast, I'll have lines shooting out from that, like get sponsorships, or I don't know, like paid ads, or join a podcasting network, or I don't know. That's maybe not the best example. One of the goals could be, okay, get a project in Forest Hill valued at $500,000, a design project. Okay. What are all the different things that could help me get towards getting that project? Well, I could get new lawn signs made because we're working nearby. I could reach out to local realtors. I need to really revamp my process because it doesn't feel like it's elevated enough. Maybe you feel like you need to take a marketing course. Like, what are the things that you think are going to help you? So brainstorm a list of all these ideas that can help you get to your quarterly goals. And then I want you to attribute from those ideas, figure out which quarter of the year are you going to be working on those ideas? Keeping in mind that some of those goals you want to hit sooner than the end of the year. But if you have a goal that is like, I want to have this by Q4, maybe it's, I would like to have a complete design team, or maybe a goal is I want my own studio. I want to move out of my house, I want my office out of my house. I want to have a studio by the end of the year. Awesome. So what are the tasks or the ideas that you can attribute to help get you there? And in which quarter are you going to do it? And I think the visual in the worksheet will help you understand what I'm explaining here. For example, maybe in Q1, you have a goal. You want to photograph your first design project. You haven't done that yet. And that's one of your goals by the end of Q1. Come hell or high water, you need to have a professional photo shoot. So what do you need to do in order to get there? What are some ideas? Just brainstorm the ideas. I need to get a short list of photographers. I need to reach out to photographers. I need to figure out the budget. I need to decide which project it's going to be. I need to discuss with the client. I want to, you fill in the blank. Maybe hire an assistant for the day. Those are all going to happen in Q1. Unless the photo shoot isn't happening till Q3, you can take those items, those tasks, those ideas, and spread them out over the 3 quarters. I hope this is landing. Unfortunately, with a podcast, I can't see your faces, but I hope it's landing. What you're going to start to see is in each quarter, you're going to have a bunch of tasks associated with goals. So maybe in your Q1 column, you have, I'm going to photograph project A. I'm going to sign up for a power of process to get my systems ironed out. I'm going to create a marketing plan. I'm going to hire a part-time junior designer. Maybe in Q2, it's things like I need to finalize all my processes and put them into a binder that I can use so I follow with every project. Maybe I need to hire a web developer to work on something for the website update. Maybe that's a goal. Maybe I want to read a leadership book to help me grow my team. The important thing here is that you first brainstorm all of the ideas and then you put them into the quarters. If you start focusing on the quarters, you're going to get a little overwhelmed. Just put all the paper ideas down on paper again. Even maybe like take out 4 different colored highlighters. You could do that. 1 highlighter per quarter. Go through like what makes sense that I would do in Q1. Okay, what makes sense for Q2? So now you have 4 columns of action moving tasks, the things that are going to move you closer to your goal. Some of those things might be in your calendar already, and we're going to get there in a second. But some of them may not. Like maybe part of podcast sponsorship for me is attending High Point Market. Well, shoot, I already have time in my calendar for that. And that's going to be exciting when we get there. Okay. This is the part that might take the longest depending on how many goals you've set. This is why I also recommend you start with fewer goals. What you could do is do a 1 goal at a time. So start with the podcast, making a profit goal, list all the tasks you want to do for that, and then map them out into the various quarters. My next goal is I want to move my studio out of my home. I want to have like my own office space where my team can work. Okay, let me list all the things that I need to do to get me there. Okay, now I'm going to take those tasks and put them into a quarter. We're grouping them. Step 5 was a doozy. Step 6, we're getting even more focused. And this is where the magic really starts to happen. Step 6 is get in the habit. Create weekly tasks. After you've created your quarterly actionable tasks that are going to help you move the needle for those goals that you set, from there, I consider, are there any tasks that I could do weekly to keep me on track? Maybe develop some habits that are good and move the needle towards my goals? Because that's where the magic's going to happen. If there are goals that have some habit weekly associated with them, you're going to lock it in and there's no way you're going to miss that goal. So for example, maybe you have a goal to be a financial powerhouse and generate a certain amount of profit in your business this year. One weekly task could be, I look at my bank account every week and I pay off the Visa every Monday. Or maybe you have a goal to hit so many consultations because you want to land so many projects this year. So maybe daily or weekly, you talk about consultations and you have a call to action on your Instagram. Or maybe every single week, I reach out to 10 potential podcast sponsors. Think about habits that you can instill into your life, into your week, that are going to be small and they're not guaranteeing any outcome, but they're building that muscle. They're building that financial powerhouse muscle. They're building that I ask for business muscle. They're building that I ask for money muscle. So step 6 is get into the habit. So create weekly tasks. Just create a list. It may not be a lot. It could be 2 things, could be 10 things. I would suggest fewer if this is your first time doing this, just so you can kind of get in the habit, because otherwise you might feel overwhelmed and the whole thing will fall to shit. Pardon my French. All right, last step. You now need to put your goal-oriented tasks, these quarterly tasks or these weekly tasks, into your calendar. So we're doing full circle back to the calendar. Here's why I do this. Because if it's not in my calendar, I'm probably not going to do it. I'm just not. It's going to be over there on the bulletin board. It's going to be in a notepad. It's going to be in a really pretty, this year I've got my yellow full focus planners and they have a whole section for goals there. And yeah, I'm supposed to reference it every morning, but do I always? No. Truth is I don't. So if it's in your calendar, it's more likely to happen. I still recommend the paper. I like sticking it up on the wall and look at it. I do really big calendar sheets. And I got this year some from Indigo or Chapters where they are the calendar. And then on the right-hand side, a note section. So that's where I'm putting sort of the mini goals, the sub goals for that month or that quarter. And that's really hopefully going to help me focus not just in the calendar, but also when I'm standing in my office. But put them in your calendar. So I would start by putting in the weekly tasks. So I'd go kind of the reverse now. I'd put the weekly tasks as repeatable events into your calendar. So is that Mondays where you look at the finances and maybe you send the emails? And literally go into your Google Calendar or Outlook or whatever it is you use and block out, you can do out of office so nobody books you and you don't book yourself, or just make a calendar invite and literally make it a repeating weekly task. And I recommend you kind of time block this a little bit so that they're not throughout the whole week. Think about when it makes sense given the task and put it in your calendar. For me, I have Money Mondays. Sometimes I don't get there, but more often than not I do. And that's where I look at my books, I look at my numbers and the bank account, and I pay off the Visa. So that I don't ever get into the situation where I'm like, oh my gosh, what? The Visa's at limit? We can't make a payment? Trust me, it's happened. And then it's same thing with the quarterly. If you can find time in your calendar to work on quarterly goals, maybe it's a lot bigger chunks of time. It could be a Friday once a quarter. It could be once a month. You have a day where you work on tasks that move the needle, or maybe you break it up and you know exactly when you're going to tackle it and you put it into your calendar. I highly recommend that you do this, because if it's not in the calendar, it's probably not going to happen. And maybe some of the tasks can be delegated, and that's for you to look at and determine. And maybe that's if you use Asana, maybe you put it all into Asana and you can use that to set due dates for yourself. That's what I like to do. And I'm not trying to complicate this podcast though. So trying to keep it very simple. You can use the calendar. If you use a project management platform like I do, like Asana or a Monday.com or something like that, you can put them all in and put different due dates. In Asana, you can do a start and end date. You could assign to somebody on your team and bring your team in on the goals. That's the whole next level of it. And I know I did do an episode about that a couple of years ago here. So you might want to go back and find it. We're going to link all those in the show notes, but put them into something so that they don't get lost. And this isn't just a futile exercise that you do once when you're feeling inspired listening to Resilient by Design. The most important secret to business success is training yourself to direct the majority of your time, energy, and focus on what you can control instead of what you can't. Once you put all this information in your calendar, you will then see how much time you have left. Maybe it's too much. Maybe you just need to set 3 goals, or maybe it's 1 goal a quarter. That's up to you, but I do highly recommend that you follow this framework, because this framework can work whether it's just 1 goal, multiple goals, or even for your personal goals. And it works. I can tell you it works. Breaking it down by quarter It doesn't mean you're going to hit it every quarter. It doesn't mean you're going to achieve every goal. But hey, what is it? Shoot for the moon and land amongst the stars. If you don't think big and go after those goals, you're not even going to get 50% there. But you might get 60% or 75%. And that's the whole point. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Go download the worksheet. If you didn't get a chance to already, you can use this audio along with the worksheet to prompt you so you can fill it all in. I hope this gets you thinking about your goals. I hope it's a simple, streamlined way to do it. To me, it has been foolproof. I really love doing this exercise. It's actually kind of fun. If you block off some time, play some music, get a coffee or a tea or your favorite beverage, and just sit down and have a little fun, map it all out, get a little organized, use some colorful pens and highlighters, make it a fun thing to do, and then assess and decide, do you really want to achieve that goal, or are the other two goals really more of a priority? It's constantly looking back and forth. This won't be done in one day. Give it some time, let it settle, let it ruminate. If you've already started setting some goals, maybe put them through this framework to make sure you have actionable tasks that are going to help get you there. Because it's not enough just to set goals. You need to have a system for how you're going to get there. Otherwise, they're just a dream. And then share your goals with me. Share your goals with a friend. If you're inside Designer's Room, you're going to love this. We are diving deep into goal setting this month. The month of January is about really working with you to break down those actionable tasks. We're going to brainstorm needle moving tasks that are going to help get you there. So if you liked this and if you want to do this in real life and then to the next level, and you want an accountability partner like me to help make you do it and hold you accountable for the things you say you're going to do. If you are driven and you are ready, then you're going to want to join us inside Designer's Room this month, because it is all about goal setting. The doors will be closing soon. So I do hope you join us. But in the meantime, happy planning, and I'll see you soon.
The Resilient by Design podcast is produced by Vera Marquez, edited by Abby Circatella, and hosted by yours truly, Rebecca Hay.